Hello, Suresh. Hello, Yogesh.
Hi, Prathaman. I think only Devlops is here.
Hi,
Yeah,
Bardhavan.
looks like. Hello, Suresh. Only we Wavelabs have joined, huh?
Yeah, there will be surprise today because a lot of people are on vacation this week.
Oh, okay.
Because tomorrow and are holidays in US.
Uh-huh. What is the thing? What is the occasion there?
July 4th, I think, is Independence Day. Oh, Kendall is here today.
Yeah. Hello, Kendall. Good morning.
Hi, hello, good morning.
We are anticipating thin attendance today.
Morning, everyone. We'll just wait another minute or two. Looks like we're still missing a few people. Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started. So we do have a couple agenda items, but first we will go through our normal updates. So we'll start with the 5G update from Suresh.
Yeah, hi, Kendall. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, on 5G standalone fixed wireless access project, we are going with a staggered approach. A set of procedures we targeted as PGO category. And on TerraVM environment, all the P0 cases are passing and on multiple runs and different variants of the test. And the changes are committed to Magma 5G branch. And on the next set of test cases that are grouped on category P1, out of 9 tests, 6 are passing. The negative scenarios associated to timers, say the authentication procedure and security mode procedure and identity request handling, all are passing. And on the ideal mode, basically the signaling mode today passed, and the plan is before end of this week, we are targeting to complete the data mode of ideal mode command as well. And multi-UE registration when they are connected to multiple GNBs is something that we started. And so far, with a couple of
I think we lost Suresh.
Uh-oh,
Suresh,
it must have accidentally dropped from the, oh no, wait. Suresh, can you hear us?
yes, Kendall. My apologies. My connection has gone bad.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah. So in the multi-GNB scenario, with multiple UE registrations, with the 2 GNBs, the registrations are quite stable. Plan is for the month of July, we want to scale up to 12 GNBs and 100 UEs, and want to see the registrations are quite stable. And also we want to target 4 PDU sessions per UE. So the scaling is tricky. We are observing some memory buildup and also some crashes when we are scaling to more than 25 registrations earlier. So need to see and target up to 100 UE registrations. So that is the goal for us for the month of July. And in addition to that, we also have targeted to migrate the Magma 5G branch related changes onto the master. So goal for the month of July is to merge the code on master. Yeah, this is the update, Kendall. Anyone has any questions on this?
All right. Thank you so much, Suresh. We will now move on to Devops update. Would that be you,
Hey.
Tim?
Yep.
Awesome.
Hello, everyone. A few DevOps updates. So we've been backporting the Ubuntu VM to all the release branch. So in case if we need like a patch on a specific version, we'll be able to automatically generate Ubuntu packages. The next item that we did this week is the integration of Spirent, which is a testing tool in the Facebook lab, and the TerraVM to the Linux Foundation Jenkins is done. And the team is currently working on the job to schedule a daily job and compare the results with the results of the day before. We've been focusing a lot on testing and releasing 1.5.2. That's what we've done for the past week. What is ongoing is we are heavily focusing on testing 1.6. That is the main priority of the Devils team right now. We are rewriting all the jobs in order to put them to the Linux Foundation's CI, so the Jenkins, so all the integration tests, HW, CWAG, etc. We are close to finish the GitHub Action migration, thanks to Linux Foundation and the DevOps team. And of course, we are trying to help the community as much as we can. I think that's everything with all the ongoing tasks. Just a side note, we've received a few feedbacks from partners developers that when you want to download a version and especially for the HW, you have more than one. So for example, if you want 1.5.2, usually you see like 2 or 3. Now we decided that, and it was very confusing for some partners. So now we decided that on the production registry, when we freeze a package or release, the registry, will only contain one package of the HW. So you will only see 1.5.2. And if we have to upload a new one because of the patch, we'll dump the minor. Yeah, that's it for the Devops update. Do you have any question for us?
Yeah, Tim, I have one question related to Spirent testing. Is it
Yes.
targeted for a specific set of features, or is it for the overall 4G, 5G testing? I mean,
right now it's only for 4G, and in the future we can definitely make it work for 5G. And also on top of that, on the roadmap, we want to include the DS tester to be part of the Linux Foundation Jenkins regression testing framework, and that will test the 5G integration, and everything will be automated.
I got it, Tim. And specifically, is Spirent targeted for performance and scale testing, or are there other tests included?
That's the main purpose of Spirent right now, at least.
Got it. And are there some numbers that we are working towards? Would like to know that, because we are actively speaking to the potential operators, say, because Wave Labs is a system integrator. We are speaking to several customers in the Middle East and Africa. So we're curious to know basically on the numbers we are working towards.
That's a very good question. Right now, the process is inside the Facebook lab and is not automated yet with the community tools. It's like with internal tools, and we want to make everything public. So even the reports of like the scaling test, the number of UE per second that we were able to keep up, everything will be public. And we already have dashboards, we like very specific graphs, etc. And everything will be public when we're done with the public integration of Spirent. And you'll be able to like browse and see the test result, of course.
Got it, Tim.
And right now, if you want some results, you can contact me, and I'll point you to the team working on that right now, and they can share you like test result if you're curious about it.
Yeah.
All right, are there any other questions? Okay, thank you, Tim. We will now move on to the release update from Echo.
Right, thanks, Kendall. So just a couple of updates. The first one is 1.5.2 was released last week. It was an incremental update on the 1.5 series, mostly containing some fixes for issues that were reported from 1.5 and then 1.5.1. So that was how we're excited about that. For this week, we've been primarily focused on 1.6, which is a major release per the quarterly release cycle that the Magma team maintains. We are really, really close to releasing this, and fingers crossed, if all our reports come out green, we'll most likely release this sometime today. I would like to do a proper readout of everything that is contained in 1.6, but I would probably want to put a hold on this until the next call. So that once we have some of the numbers finalized from our tests, I'll be able to talk about this more descriptively. But most of what I'd like to share here is 1.6 has lots of performance improvements, especially on the gateway front, as well as the orchestrator. in terms of skill. Some of the numbers that we have talking about attach rates of sometimes about 5 UEs per second, scaling all the way up to 600 UEs. And there's about support for about 20K subscribers on the orchestrator, and lots of other interesting metrics like that. So I'll share lots of these during the next call and try to get a community up to speed with where Magma is as a product right now. The other thing I'd like to share is there's been a small forum trying to rethink how we do releases. As you all know, Magma does a quarterly release cycle, and in between the quarters, we do dot releases, which are mostly fixes for the major releases. There's been strong consideration for breaking away from that cycle and releasing more often. The exact procedure is still being ironed out, but that is something that we are working on, and we'll probably want to share with the community a proposal of what we are thinking to solicit some input, and then to figure out how we can move away from this current cadence and to move to that cycle, because we believe it to be better for everyone, including the community. So at a high level, that is the few updates that we have. Again, we're starting at 1.6, and we are working really hard to get the ship today. Right. So that's mostly everything. I'll take any questions now, if any. Okay. If no questions, then back to you, Kendall.
Thank you, Echo. All right, next thing on the agenda is from Marie, Century, and Magma.
Hi, I'll share my screen.
Okay.
Okay, hopefully it's visible to everyone.
Yep.
Let's see if I can do full screen. Is that still okay?
Yep.
Okay,
Looks
cool.
great.
So we've been doing some, been trying to make some progress on the like proactive exception monitoring aspect of Magma. And we've added some features. We're still sort of developing it, but I just wanted to put it out there because if anyone is interested in trying, I think it's like a great tool if you have multiple deployments that you're managing. So to get back to the basics, so the current state of sort of debugging crashing services, especially the C++ ones, so that would be MME and Session D and some others, have been mostly manual. It's been helped slightly, actually it's been helped a lot by the ShowTech tool, which like collects these core dumps produced with executables and whatnot. But the process is still manually triggered, and it kind of involves, you know, whoever is analyzing it to go through each one, and you have to find matching executables with the right core dump, and it's not as streamlined as it could be. So that is the main thing that, you know, we're trying to sort of fix. And same things with inspecting logs. If you're inspecting logs per access gateway at a time, it's like very, very useful if you know what the problem is and like the timeline you're looking at. But it's not like a great method for just managing, you know, tens and hundreds of access gateways and trying to get a sense of what common exception and error patterns you're seeing. So we quickly sort of went through some of the options. Some of it is more rudimentary, just like periodically, you know, decoding the core dumps produced and send it up to the cloud. It kind of wasn't, yeah, like it didn't seem like that was, we could, you know, it seemed like we could do something better there. So we looked for some external tools. There were some great tools by Google called CrashPad, which generates like a lightweight core dump, which is sort of optimized for like being exported out. And Sentry.io actually uses this CrashPad tool in the background. but it also has like a platform available as a service, which is great. That can also like, basically it gives a UI of all the decoded exceptions and can, like collapse similar issues, has integrations with GitHub so that you can directly file issues there. So we ended up going with Sentry.io. I know New Relic has been floated around. Like I've been asked questions about this. From what I looked into, like it seemed like it was more of a performance monitoring platform rather than like a very strong emphasis on exception monitoring. So that's why I didn't really explore that option further. I'd be interested to learn about what they have though. So here is, okay, sorry. Another background is we actually currently have this deployed for our lab setup. So for the past 2 months or so, we've hooked up most of our test access gateways that are running all these like load and scale tests. And yeah, we've been monitoring errors this way for the past few months. So Sentry is a crash exception collection aggregation platform. So it has per language SDKs that you can hook into. So for our access gateway services for Python and C++, I've integrated the SDK that can be enabled and disabled by a configuration. And what it does is when it's enabled, it'll just monitor any crashes and it'll just send it to the Sentry platform. So on the access gateway side, it's configured per access gateway in a config file. So currently you still have to manually go into the access gateway and put in the DSN value that the platform gives you. We are trying to move to a cloud configured model so that you can configure all access gateways for a single network, for example. I think that'll be probably more useful for larger deployments that you may want to monitor. And as mentioned before, it supports a GitHub integration. So our Sentry.io platform is connected to our Magma repo. So we've filed 13 actual issues so far, via Sentry, and most of them have been resolved. So they led to an actual bug fix, which is great. And we currently have 6, maybe close to 10 access gateways hooked up in lab right now. And on the left, you can see like what the errors look like on Sentry, and you can see, that it's tied to a GitHub issue, and it tells you, like that it was first seen 2 months ago, but it was seen again 7 days ago, for example. So that's on the access gateway and just monitoring side. But in order to set up Sentry, there are about 3 things that you have to do. So first you need to set up the actual platform that, accepts all these errors. And for that, you have 2 options. You can pay for a SaaS offering by Sentry.io. This is what we do because then you don't have to actually manage the deployments on our own. Or I've heard that it's very easy to just set up your own, like your self-hosted version, which might be like a good place to start if you're just trying it out with like a few access gateways. That brings me to think that I think if you're not using, there are like trial accounts that you can set up with too. So that might be a good place to start too. And the second part is actually really important. Since these exceptions that are being reported more or less looks like a core dump, you actually need a corresponding executable to be uploaded to the Sentry platform. This isn't too difficult to do if you're, if you're only upgrading maybe like every few months or so. But if you do have regular upgrade cadences, I heavily encourage you to sort of hook this into your CI/CD upgrade management pipeline so that it's done automatically and it then you don't have to worry about it ever, which is great. And the third one, which is optional, you can also add release information. So if you're building your access gateways straight from GitHub, then you can tag like a set of commits that are tied to a release, and Sentry can tell you, it can try to suggest commits that introduced a specific issue. Yeah, so I just wanted to put in a release like CI configuration that we use, for example, just for reference. So this is what we run every time we build an access gateway package. So it'll just tag the release number and it'll just attach all the commits. And this is the artifact uploading version, sorry, snippet that also might be useful. I have links to the code in the last page of the slide, so if you want to take a look, it's available to do so. Yeah, that's it for the presentation. I added, Sentry documentation and references to our Magma's, like configuration guides in this page. So if you want to check it out, please do. And if you have any like Magma specific questions about Sentry, you can reach out to me. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. I'd like to ask you one small question here.
Yeah.
First of all, this looks to be a very handy tool for the developers. No doubt it will speed up the crash analysis. One ask for me is because in the control plane today, most of our network functions are multi-threaded, right? So when you take backtraces, I silently assume that you are taking backtraces for all the threads. So say thread info BT.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then other request for me is because of course it all is the direction in which each developer works. Are you also taking info registers?
I don't think so. I've only seen the backtraces. I can show you like what an issue looks like. Let's see. So here's one that we saw 7 days ago. So it tries to give you like the thread that it crashed in, the backtrace for that. And if you click raw, it shows you like all the thread backtraces, which sometimes can be useful. Usually I've gotten most of my debugging just by looking at this and then just going back to the code and trying to figure out what happened. And oh, sorry, one like useful thing that I forgot to mention is there is also a way to configure it to upload log files. So like we have a configuration for uploading the mme.log file on crashes. So usually that has proved pretty helpful as well.
Yeah, that's quite useful, Mary. That's a good point. Yeah. So is it possible to add info registers also to the dump?
I can take a look at the Sentry native SDK, or I can also point you to it's an open source SDK project that I use. So if there isn't like a way for me to if there isn't like a configuration exposed in that SDK to do that, it might be hard. Yeah, so I don't know. I might have to look at the documentation for that.
All right. Thanks, Mary.
Oh, and I guess like if you are like real-time monitoring, like the core dump will still be there too. So you could just sort of monitor and see what kind of errors there are, and you can always go back and do everything.
Yeah. Definitely this is a handy tool for the control plane developers, no doubt.
Hey, Marie, Phil, what have we done or looked at around customer privacy issues with Sentry if we install this on production gateways? Are there concerns about returning live core dumps from production networks that may contain customer proprietary data in them?
Yeah, so there are some considerations on the platform itself. So there is a way to not store any, like the actual mini dump itself, which might contain some things. There is some like server side scrubbing that you could configure. I have not added anything from the reporting side, just because at this point we're not trying, like all the access gateways that we're going to connect to will be, our test access gateways. But yeah, I think I would refer to the Sentry server side scrubbing and privacy configuration docs. I can add it to the link later.
Okay.
Mary, I have a question here. Are we really sending these builds or binaries with the debug symbols into the customer deployments? The size of the binary will be more and it will be a drag on the network function performance, right?
Yeah, so currently I think the default includes the debug symbols. So I didn't add anything extra to enable this. But if you are building from scratch, so you could just build the artifact with debug symbols included, strip like the debug symbols only and upload it to Sentry, strip out the debug symbols and give that to the customer, and that should still work, is what I understood from the documentation. But yeah, I guess the important thing is I haven't like added any more than we currently have right now.
All right, noted, Mary.
Okay, well, if you have any more questions, please reach out to me. Thanks.
Thanks, Marie. So the last thing that we have on the agenda is from Phil, a call for comments and input on proposed security vulnerability policy.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Kendall. And I'm going to share my screen just briefly to flash up a GitHub issue that I raised a week and a half ago. And it was brought to the attention of the Magma team that if a security vulnerability were identified in the product, something that could be a fairly severe vulnerability, like a user mode cut through to the operating system that is hosting the access gateway or something like that. These are pretty terrible things in a communication system, and we don't have a coherent way in place in the project today or a policy about how to report these and how to handle them. Although how to handle security vulnerabilities is something that's gotten a lot of treatment around the industry and in other open source communities. And so I crafted briefly an issue that is here. It's number 7608. And I'm actually soliciting discussion on this from the broad community. And the reason I want to solicit this kind of input and do this a little differently than we handle other issues is that the security policy that goes with this necessarily needs to establish a confidential reporting process so that we don't have security flaws reported in a way that highlights to the world that Magma has a security flaw, please go exploit it. And there are mechanisms in place. CERT has put together this concept of managed disclosure of security flaws, and associated policies that would go with that. But in Magma and in our open source model, we've taken a very intentional approach of being transparent and open about pretty much everything that we're doing with the community. So my thought here is that we need to have a open and transparent discussion about why a confidential process is required and how we manage that confidentiality to do eventual disclosure of the flaw that is done concurrently with the resolution of it. And I've introduced this, to some of the software developers in a meeting last week or a week and a half ago. I've spoken to the TSC about this, and I'm coming here. I want to highlight this issue. I want to solicit as many people in the community to add comments. I'd really like them to land on this GitHub issue with their comments rather than Slack, so that we leave a trail of breadcrumbs that discloses how this policy was arrived at, and comments and crafting of it. And then I've also written up a draft policy that you can find in a draft PR. It's a very lightweight security policy. It's modeled on what is done for the Microsoft VS Code product, which is a very well-known text editor handled as open source by Microsoft, and I think it's a reasonable balance between some of the other security policies that are books, not just statements. Anyway, all I wanted to do was bring it to the attention of this community, to the developer and engineering community, and at this point solicit your comments. I'm going to be taking those comments and crafting some updates and maybe doing some quick iterations on that, and then getting the policy back to the TSC for approval and implementation fairly quickly, because as we start to consider Magma more generally available and production ready product, we really are likely to see, unfortunately, any project is likely to see vulnerability issues raised. So that's all I wanted to do today, and thanks for your time.
Thanks, Phil. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, great. Well, that comes to the end of our agenda. We still do have 25 minutes left if anyone else has anything else they want to bring up or discuss.
Yeah, Marie, I have a question. In your presentation, you said like you are coming up with the method where you can like remotely control all the access gateway and configure them. So how are you doing that?
Hi, it's just that currently it's configured in a config file on the access gateway. So if we move that into just like how we stream any other configs from the orchestrator, then we can just have a value for the network instead of just doing it access gateway at a time.
And have you also tried Sentry in Federation Gateway, because that is actually Dockerized?
Yeah, I haven't explored Sentry and Feg yet, but I know that they do have a Go SDK on top of the other one. So I think that'll be a doable goal.
Yeah, because access gateway will soon be Dockerized. Then we have to, I think, change the process, how Sentry connects.
Oh, so Sentry, it's an SDK that you like build into the process when you start it up. So the way that it's being run shouldn't affect whether Sentry can be enabled or not.
So it's node wide, it's installed on the host machine. right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying, because once it's in a host and it can see all the services, but let's say our access gateway is running inside Docker, then it has to see the Docker services and Docker logs, right?
I don't think so, but yeah, I can double check and get back to you, but I think it should be fine. If even, yeah, I think it should be doable in the FEG or the Dockerized access gateway as well.
Yeah, and I think for 1.6, we are targeting to Dockerize access gateway, which will be released very soon, I guess.
Yes, 1.6 is coming out. I'm not too familiar with the timelines for the Dockerized access gateway.
Echo, can you like tell us more about that?
Sorry. Do you want to ask a question again? I think I missed it.
Yeah, regarding the 1.6 release and the Dockerization of access gateway.
Oh, okay. Right. So some work has been done to containerize all the AGW services. I think for 1.6, we wouldn't say that it's fully ready. We will still make it available, maybe as experimental at first, because we need to test this some more, especially in the production environment. But I can provide more details offline if it will be more useful to you there.
Yeah, because we want to actually test it out, and if you have the documentation, so we can try building it and test it out in our lab.
Yeah, I think that absolutely we can do. Yeah. And I think that would actually be appreciated, so we can get additional testing beyond what we are doing in the lab right now.
Okay, I'll get back to you after this on Slack.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Anything else that people would like to discuss?
Yeah, hey Kendall, my name is Prem. Just wanted to give a brief about what we do. I'm part of the Akraino Private 5GLT blueprint. I have met or discussed with few of the other members from the Magma community. We have been working on to create more like an out-of-the-box solution for any private 5GLT. That's the goal of this Akraino project. And in fact, I've been discussing with Shah Rahman on inclusion of this, and we are currently doing it. As we speak, this particular blueprint also feeds into that of the LF Super 5G project. So in that regard, what we want to do is we wanted to have a closer collaboration with the Magma engineering community, and then try to reuse some of what we do, and then also leverage on the efforts that are being done for the Magma open source. So just wanted to say hi, and then we do have Prabjot, who is also from this particular project, and we will regularly be part of this meeting and then get to know more and start integration.
Yeah, hi everyone, Prabjot here. Looking forward to work with you guys. Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Happy to have y'all here. Is there anything else that people would like to discuss? Okay, great. Then I will give you a few minutes back into your day. Everyone have a great long weekend if you are celebrating July 4th, and everyone have a great week. Thank you.
Bye-bye, Kendall.
Thank you, Kendall.
Thanks, bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.